I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. Hey guys, happy Tuesday. Welcome. Shout out to everyone watching on YouTube, Twitter, and Rockfin. Greetings and welcome to Sabby Sabs podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. If you are new, I want to let you know that Sabby Sabs podcast is a part of Revolutionary Blackout Network. You can catch me there on Thursday for the Roundtable and Fridays for the Sabby Show. And you can catch me here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. I want to give quick shout outs to people in the chat. What's going on overnight says rumor is he gets lost at night going to the bathroom, whimpers softly till found. I'm assuming you were talking about Biden there. Hilarious. Greetings, Dan O'Neill. Shout out to a non-user. Man, banned from Twitter twice because fascists don't like to be called out as fascists. I'm sorry about that, a non-user. You're the second person in 2 days that's told me they've been banned from Twitter. Oh boy. Greetings, Kim says everything's okay, guys. Sabby Sab is here. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much. Shout out to Hannah G. What's going on, CBC voter? After the show, I will watch the General Strike Summit. Anything I should know? Today was so busy. Oh, the General Strike Summit we did over at RBN. I hope you have a lot of hours prepared. It was a 3-day long summit from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. most days, I believe. So just go in with an open mind. You're going to hear all different types of topics. You're going to hear from union organizers. Actually, the Kellogg's union leader is in 2 of the episodes for General Strike Summit. There's commentators there as well. Activists. Who else do we have on? With so many people. Oh, you'll learn about dual power. You're going to learn how to grow your own food. That was one of the things that was talked about as well. And how we need to come together. And there was also a segment about the need for a general strike because of independent media suppression. So that one was a really good one too. But there's a lot of people on that summit. So enjoy. Greetings, Justin says Groob Sabs plus RBN fam. What's going on, Justin? Shout out to Gamer for Life. Always great to see you. Greetings, Ted Calvin said we got 720 truckers managed to make it across the border from Alaska. Oh, wow. Panquake. Greetings, Yipper99. Always great to see you. They say hello, everybody. Shout out to Lawrence Johnson. It's always great to see you. Doobie doo. Greetings, Eric, who's a Sabby member, says hello, all lefty friends in all places. I got friends in low places. Song doesn't really go that way, but you know, I cannot sing like him. Greetings, Valerie Parcell says hello, everyone. Shout out to Carlos, who says doobie doo, everybody. Shout out to Brandy, says hello, Sabby. Greeting, VLX11387. There's a cigarette and a frog, a smoking frog. Shout out to Notori. Always great to see you. She says hi. What's going on? Gannon 2D says, hey, everyone. Shout out to Ashura, says, Sabby Sab, start with the sellout. Start with the sellouts of the fraud squad, please. I was going to do that one second because some people don't get in until 7:30. So sorry, Ashura. Sorry. But what I have to tell you about that, you are not going to be happy. Greetings, Janice Anderson says, hi, all. Shout out to Leroy Peace, who's a Sabby member. Great to see you. Always, Leroy. All right. Shout out to Pat Brannigan. What's going on? Says, hi, Sabby. Jenna Colby says, hey, y'all. Jenna, I take it you are from down south. Maybe. Shout out to Aspen the Fallen says, hey, Sabs and fellow comrades. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. If I missed anyone, I apologize. There's a lot of comments in the chat. So I want to go ahead and start out by giving a shout out to all the Sabby patrons. Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. Here are all their names here. If you are interested, you can become a Sabby member, a Sabby, a Sabster, or the Ultimate. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. And their names are also scrolling across the bottom of the screen. So, close this. I keep showing that screen. I hate that, but it happens. What are we talking about tonight, ladies and gentlemen? I have some interesting stories for you. Let me go ahead and show my thumbnail. All right. Tonight we are talking about Kyrsten Sinema is censured, not censored. Just wanted to point that out. What are Arizona Democrats saying about Kyrsten Sinema? It is not good news for her. We're going to discuss Joe Biden challenges Russia. This is a cringe moment indeed. God, I'm going to save it for the story. I have some things to say. And last but not least, we're also going to talk about Justice Democrats' corruption. And you can see on the picture here, it says, "Where's our money?" And by our, I'm talking about us. Stay tuned for that story. So first, I am going to get started with Kyrsten Sinema. This is not good news for her, ladies and gentlemen. So the Arizona Democratic Party has some things to say to Kyrsten Sinema. They talked about this on Morning Joe this morning, and I want you to pay close attention to the way that they talk about this. I want you to pay attention to how they try to run cover for Kyrsten Sinema, and not just Kyrsten Sinema, but also Joe Manchin. This is why I hate this show. I really despise Morning Joe. I've never liked that show. I think it's really fake. I think the people are fake. I'm just being honest with you. But listen to what they have to say, and I'm going to comment in between.
Party is censuring Senator Kyrsten Sinema after she voted against changing the filibuster, defeating efforts to pass new voting rights legislation. Two NBC News sources say the Saturday vote was unanimous. The party vice chair says it's, quote, unlikely, if not entirely impossible, that the party would support Sinema in a future re-election bid. In a statement, the party executive board wrote, in part, "As a party, our job is to support our Democratic candidates. However, we are also here to advocate for our constituents, and the ramifications of failing to pass federal legislation that protects their right to vote are too large and far-reaching." The chair of the Arizona Democratic Party defended the censure, noting Arizona Republicans' ongoing efforts to overturn the state's election results.
Senator Sinema voted to protect the Senate rule that is not in our Constitution, the filibuster. And while our party is a true coalition, there is room for disagreement on policy. And this issue, we have been consistent and vocal over the last year. As a member of the Arizona legislature, I know that because of Republicans, our voting rights are at risk, and protecting the franchise is more important than an outdated rule.
Senator Sinema's office responded to the vote in a statement, quote, "Kyrsten has always promised Arizonans she would be an independent voice for the state, not for either political party. She's delivered for Arizonans and has always been honest about where she stands." So, Joe, was it...
And this is where I have to chime in here. Yeah, let's talk about this for a second before I continue the video. Kyrsten Sinema has always promised Arizonians she would be an independent voice for that state, not either political party. She ran through the Democratic Party. Whether she considers herself to be an independent or not, she ran in the Democratic Party. This is the same issue I brought up before with Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders was an independent. I really wanted him to run as third-party candidate, as an independent, but Bernie decided to run in the Democratic Party, and we saw the difficulties he faced and the problems that came with that. I've said this before, and I'll say this again. The party always comes first. So even though you may consider yourself to be an independent, you ran into the two-party system. You decided to run as a Democrat. The Democratic Party, their needs come first. If you did not agree with their values and their beliefs and their needs, then you should have ran third party. or you should have run as an independent. So I don't buy that, Kyrsten Sinema. I don't buy that at all. The other comment here, she delivered for Arizonians and has always been honest about where she stands. No, she hasn't. Kyrsten Sinema was in favor of $15 minimum wage. Does everybody remember that? Does everybody remember when she was a Green and she said she supported $15 minimum wage? Was she honest about that? Because she voted against it. Going back into the video.
Was it all worth it for Senator Sinema?
Well, I mean, that depends. I mean, does she want to impress people in Washington, D.C. and the Upper West Side of Manhattan, or does she want to impress people in Arizona? Mike Barnacle, a PPP.
That was a stupid question. I'm sorry, but you know the answer, Joe. You know the answer. You know she wants to impress the elites. She doesn't want to impress the working class people. Why would you even propose that question? You must think we're stupid or something. I really don't like this guy. He reminds me of a thumb. He really does.
Poll out just a couple of days ago in West Virginia shows the two most popular politicians in West Virginia, Donald Trump and Joe Manchin. And Joe Biden's down in the 20s. Trump's in the 60s. Manchin's extremely popular. He's popular with Democrats. He's popular with independents. He's popular with Republicans. And then you go to Arizona, you look at polls comparing Sinema and Kelly. At least the latest polls that I saw showed that Sinema's doing much better in Arizona than Kelly is. That while Kelly does better with Democrats, Sinema does much better with independents, does much better with Republicans. She's got the old John McCain caucus. So,
do you guys see how he's trying to run cover for Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin by saying they're the most popular? They're very popular. They're not doing their job. I don't care about their popularity factor. And it's really interesting because if you talk to Paula Jean, she'll let you know that a lot of people in West Virginia actually supported Build Back Better, which Joe Manchin did not. So are we just supposed to pretend that they are doing the right thing because they're popular? Are we supposed to give them a pass because they're popular? Do you see how he's trying to run cover for them? This is what I tell you. MSNBC, they are a Democrat establishment. They're elites. I want to remind you that he used to be a Republican. Just keeping it real. Just keeping it real. Going back in.
when people start talking about, oh, democracy's broken, these two centrists, these two conservative Democrats are breaking democracy, maybe if you're a blogger in Manhattan, maybe if you're leading the Democratic Party, and I understand the frustrations. I must say personally, I share those frustrations with people who think they should back an exemption, and I've said it for well over a year. But please, this is not undermining democracy. What we're seeing here are two representatives, two senators that came from conservative areas, that came from red states, who are representing those red states.
Look at the smug look on his face. Look at the smug look on his face. He said he understands their frustration. Does he? This was a similar thing with Megyn Kelly last night. I understand the frustration. These people are rich. Do they really understand our frustration? Do they really know what it's like to be poor? Do they know what it's like not to have health care in this country? Do they know what it's like to go to the doctor and have to pay full price to see the doctor? Do they know how much that costs? Do they know how much it costs to buy groceries in this country right now? Do they even have to look and see? Do they have to check their balance to see if they have enough money to do it? No. Do they know what it's like to not have transportation to get to work and having to walk to work? No. They're covered. They probably have a car or a driver that picks them up and drops them off. So stop saying that you understand our frustration. You don't understand our frustration. You are rich.
You know, Joe, the interesting thing is I've never had my name on a ballot, nor has Lemire had his name on a ballot. We're commenting on people whose lives are on the ballot, and they know what they're doing. I mean, Senator Sinema, she sometimes sounds illogical or sometimes incomprehensible in the positions that she does take, but her name is on the ballot, and she clearly wants to be reelected. So she's playing her game, and her game has been pretty skillful thus far, both internally in the Senate, although a lot of people don't like what she's doing. It's been pretty skillful. She keeps her name up in the headlines, and she seems to be appealing to the larger constituency.
Now we're supposed to like her because her name is on the ballot. He said she knows how to play the game. We're supposed to accept her and like her because her name is on the ballot. There are other names on the ballot too. Other names that you don't get to hear about because they don't even mention them because they're not running in the two-party system. So if it's really about the names on the ballot, MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, then why don't you mention all of those names on that ballot? Because it's not. It's about the people running in the two-party system. Give me a break. I can't believe they're sitting here running cover for this woman right now. She has been an absolute disaster the moment she took foot in office. She has done nothing that she said she would do. She's avoided protesters. She's run away from people who canvassed for her to help get her elected. She's a fraud. And then she wants to walk up on the Senate floor and do this thumbs down. Her thumbs down little dance to Americans in this country who are still making $7.25 an hour because Kyrsten Sinema doesn't want you to even have 15. And depending on what state you live in, you need more than that as a minimum wage just to get by. So no, I don't want to hear because her name's on the ballot, we should give her a pass. Make sure you give everybody a pass that has their name on the ballot then, including the people that you forget about, including the people that you leave off.
In Scottsdale and Yuma and every place else in Arizona, much more so than Senator Kelly is. Just a larger constituency in Scottsdale and Yuma and every.
I just want to chime in because he mentioned Scottsdale, Arizona. Scottsdale, Arizona is one of the wealthiest cities in Arizona. You see what matters to them, you guys? You see what they really care about? They care about wealth. They care about capital. What about all those other towns and cities that also matter in Arizona? Scottsdale is one of the wealthiest, if not the wealthiest city in Arizona. You and I cannot afford to live there.
Every place else in Arizona, much more so than Senator Kelly, as you just pointed out. But it's an interesting game to watch.
Yeah, it's called democracy. And Jonathan Lemire, if the Democrats want more progressive senators in West Virginia and want more progressive senators in Arizona, go ahead, primary them and see how that works out for you. They're probably not going to get them. They probably need to start winning other swing states like Florida, Wisconsin, and states.
Now he's trying to create doubt. See, this is what they do. Now he's trying to create doubt in the average viewer to make them think that if someone to the left of them were to run, they wouldn't have a chance. They did this with a lot of candidates. They did this with AOC, although I got some things to say about her. I am not a fan. But just for example, they said that about AOC. They said that about Bernie Sanders. They said that about all these candidates that ran to the left of their opponents. And some of those candidates did win. They said AOC could never beat Crowley, but she did because she got the non-voters to come out. That is what you would need to do. So the problem that I have is here again, he's trying to create doubt in the viewer. And a lot of people watch this show. A lot of people sitting at home are going to hear this or already did hear this, and they're going to be convinced that the only way is the neoliberal way, the way that they have always done it. They're going to be convinced that these leftist policies are not popular, even though exit polls show otherwise. They're going to be convinced that if we Go with people that are further left, that we will not win. And this is exactly what they did when Bernie ran in 2016 and when Bernie ran in 2020. These are the talking points that they use. And this is why, this is the propaganda that you have to pay attention to. This is why some people did not vote for Bernie Sanders over Joe Biden. I know this because I talked to a lot of people during that time, because they listened to MSNBC and CNN, who told them that there was no way that Bernie Sanders could beat Donald Trump. And they believed it. Even if they liked Bernie's policies. I know people that liked his policies, but still voted for Joe Biden because they didn't believe that Bernie could beat Trump, because MSNBC told them that he couldn't. You guys see the propaganda?
It's like that, so they don't have to ever worry about these two votes again.
Yeah, good luck finding a Democrat who's going to beat Joe Manchin in West Virginia. He's the only Democrat.
Never happened.
He's the only Democrat who win in that state, is certainly the widely held belief. But you're right, it's other states, and that's one of the
But he won't tell you why Joe Manchin has that power in West Virginia. He's not telling you that Joe Manchin is connected to coal money in West Virginia. He's not telling you that.
overlooked storylines of sort of the trouble that the administration has had trying to get its agenda through the Senate is how close the Democrats came to winning a couple other Senate seats and how bad candidates fell apart. Like, say, for instance, in North Carolina, that if they had put someone better there, they could have added to their margins and therefore not be at times almost held hostage by these two senators from West Virginia and Arizona. That's the trick, is trying to increase the margin of your majority. But for now, in this November, it's going to be just trying to keep its majority. And as much as most political observers believe the House of Representatives likely going Republican, the Senate feels like much more of a toss-up. That's where Democrats need to put their energy.
No, that's not where Democrats need to put their energy. See, they're running with that old philosophy that you need more numbers. You need the majority. You need more people. We need to pick up these states like North Carolina and Florida, and then we can get things passed. No, you would still have the same problem, because if it wasn't for Kyrsten Sinema or Joe Manchin, you would have someone else who would be a rotating villain. Guys, Nina Turner told you herself. She said that it's not just those two, that there are other people, but they're not willing to speak up. So Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin have become the fall guys, gentlemen and women. They become the fall people. That is what is happening here. They really believe this logic. We need to get more Democrats in, and then we can do. You have the numbers you need now, and you can't get things passed. Why? Even when it gets to a point where there's a tie, where Kamala Harris, the vice president, had the authority to be the tiebreaker, she deferred to the Senate parliamentarian. So then the Senate parliamentarian became the rotating villain. You guys see how this works? This is why I tell you this is all a game. They are never going to try to get anything done or anything passed that's really going to benefit the American people. They will benefit their donors. They will benefit corporations. That's what it's all about.
Hey, thanks so much for watching.
No, don't thank me. So the fact that they're sitting here and they're trying to make excuses for her. They're trying to make excuses for her and Joe Manchin. Now I want you to pretend that it wasn't establishment candidates that they were talking about. Imagine if it was Cori Bush that was doing this. Could you imagine? Imagine if it was Cori Bush who was holding up the filibuster. If it was Cori Bush who was holding up Build Back Better. Could you imagine? I'm going to go to some of the comments in the chat. Thanks so much for the super chat, Oz. Hi, Sabby. Please correct the acronym. It's MSNBS. I like that, Oz. I like that. Thanks so much for the super chat. Thanks for the super chat, Colin. Nancy Pelosi is running for Congress again. That woman. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Retire already. Retire already. Why would you run again? Really? Why? To keep the status quo. Keep the donors happy. to keep the corporations happy. That's why she's sticking around. How do you get to be that age and you are still trying to run? You've been in office for how long? You haven't debated someone since like the 1980s. Take a seat. I'm fired up tonight. I am fired up tonight. That's why I'm wearing red. I'm hot. Derek says 100% Sabby, plenty of others to rotate in. Dems ain't it. Well said. Cryptician, when they say get more Democrats, they are talking about getting more conservative Democrats, not progressives. You guys notice that? Told you. He tried to put doubt in your mind about running someone further to the left. So when they say Democrats, they're not talking about progressive Democrats. They're talking about establishment Democrats, the conservative Democrats. That's what they want. Soul says Medicare for all. What happened with that? Hi, Robin. Shout out to Robin, you guys. She helps us over a lot over at RBN. Sorry, can't talk tonight. Yes. Justin said Nancy is running again. I say bring back force the vote. Let's do it. All right, Justin. I like that. Gamer for Life says I love Sabby's passion. I am fired up, man. And I'm going to go ahead and forewarn you and prepare you. What I'm about to show you, I'm going into my second story. If you donated to Justice Democrats, any members of the squad, Jamal Bowman, Corey Bush, AOC, you know the names. You are not going to be happy with what I'm about to show you. Now, this was sent to me yesterday, and I did a little bit of research on my own as well. When I tell you that we need to follow the money, there's reasons why I say that. Give me just a second. Okay, here we go. I just don't trust it. I don't trust it. You shouldn't trust it. And after I show you this, is going to make you question donating to anybody. And I said this before, stop donating to these people, to donate your money to mutual aid instead. Paula Jean Swearigan had a tweet. Let me share my screen. I told you guys, I did a show a while back with Rob about dark money and Justice Democrats. Now, that was money that was donated by George Soros. Now, if you're supposed to be a grassroots organization, why are you taking money from George Soros? That's problematic. That's very problematic. How can you get up there and run for office and say that we need to tax the billionaires more? Billionaires need to pay more. How can you say that and you're taking billionaire money? That was one side of it. Here's another side. Now, this is from Paula Jean Swearigan. She tweeted this. Follow the money and you'll find out. This is disgusting. Small dollar donor money took a middle seat to democracy and made these people rich. Let me show you where that money went. Oh boy. It's all coming out now, folks. It is all coming out now. Now, this is from MPP broke this. I know MPP has its issues, but that doesn't dispute what was discovered here. This is middle seat, ladies and gentlemen. You may not be familiar with middle seat. So let me read this, and then you'll understand why this is a problem. The AOC Beto Biden 48 million connection, middle seat. Going to scroll down. Let me go ahead and make this larger for you because this text is tiny. Oh, I like that. Middle Seats founders are no strangers to progressive messaging. Founders Zach Exley, Kenneth Pennington, and Hector Segala all previously held roles on Bernie Sanders' 2016 presidential campaign. Kenneth Pennington and Hector Segala went on to work a short stint with Our Revolution following Sanders' campaign before founding Middle Seat. Middle Seat, like many other political contractors, often have a heavy influence on what their clients are presenting to the public. Their suite of services includes social media, texting, web design, advertising, organizing, and even campaign strategy. Noting on their website that they work with campaigns and organizations to build and grow their impact in the progressive space. The firm is very close with Justice Democrats, having been formed in conjunction with each other by some of the same people and essentially serving as the for-profit wing of the pack. The Justice Democrats' connection to Middle East run deep, considering Zach Exley was also a founder of Justice Democrats in brand new Congress. Together, both organizations have established a recruitment pipeline where Justice Democrats find candidates and set them up with Middle Seat, which moderates their message and aligns it with the Democratic Party establishment while making millions and keeping their influence invisible to the public and the movement. I'm going to say that one more time. It moderates their message and aligns it with the Democratic Party establishment while making millions and keeping their influence invisible to the public and the movement. What that means is that they are working behind the scenes, but you would never see them. They're in the background. Going on. If Justice Democrats supporters gave to the squad or Justice Democrats candidates as small grassroots donor, there is a good chance it ended up with Middle Seat. Middle Seat has amassed tremendous revenue from Justice Democrats, the squad, and JD candidates alone. According to the Federal Elections Commission, Middle Seat brought in more than $9.1 million from Justice Democrats, affiliated political action committees, and Justice Democrats candidates combined. AOC and her Courage to Change PAC accounted for $2.8 million in revenue alone. Middle Seat also represents nearly every Justice Democrat candidate and member of Congress who pay in tens of thousands of campaign dollars to the firm for services each month. Here, get this one. Some of Middle Seat's most profitable Justice Democrats representatives are Jamal Bowman at $1.3 million spent, Ro Khanna at $1.4 million spent, and Ayanna Pressley at $488,000 spent. Middle Seat is bringing in funds from other progressive candidates and representatives. Charles Booker's campaign and affiliated PACs have spent more than $3.1 million since the end of 2020 alone. Katie Porter and her affiliated PAC have paid in more than $2.3 million to Middle Seat from 2019 to now. Now, you may be wondering, what is wrong with Middle Seat? Here we go. While Middle Seat has capitalized off of progressive candidates and shifted their messaging to the right, they also work with establishment candidates to pass moderate candidates off as progressive. Let me say that one more time. They also work with establishment candidates to pass moderate candidates off as progressives and shift the goalposts of the progressive movement. You guys see this? Shift the goalposts of the progressive movements. That means there are candidates that they back, that they support, that are out there running, that are actually establishment candidates, and they try to make them look as though they are actually progressive, and they are not. Going on, Beto O'Rourke and Joe Biden stand as shining examples of this type of client. Of all the people, the Biden Victory Fund was also a client of Middle Seat in 2020. The firm worked in conjunction with the Democratic National Committee's in-house digital advertising team in an effort to make Biden more palatable for progressives. In other words, they lied. But they were not middle seat's first establishment candidate. The firm has also worked with DNC-backed clients such as Move On, Beto O'Rourke, and the Working Family Party. These are not progressives. Sometimes you hear the name of these organizations like Move On, and it sounds like a really good thing. It sounds progressive. Yes, let's move on. But it's not. Beto O'Rourke and his campaign supported PACs, people-powered action, and powered by the people, account for half of middle seats revenue at a whopping $23.1 million going to the firm. Middle seat was contracted by the Beto campaign and supporting political action committees during his 2018 Texas race against Republican incumbent Ted Cruz and his subsequent 2020 presidential run. While the squad and others have moved to the right under the messaging hand of middle seat. Again, while the squad and others have moved to the right, this is what happens when you take funding from anybody. This is what happens when you get connected to these organizations that have their own agenda and they say, yes, we take progressive candidates. They move you to the right. You do not move them to the left. This is what is happening with the squad. While the squad and others have moved to the right and under the messaging hand of middle seat, Beto garnered millions in campaign donations and support by masking his past stances. His campaign touted policies such as Medicare for All to capitalize on the zeitgeist born out of Bernie Sanders' 2016 presidential run, despite his tendency in the past to support moderate and conservative legislation. Let me move down here. Oh, nope, this is important. According to the byline on Beto's current website, middle seat has been contracted once again for his 2022 Texas gubernatorial race. So they're at it again. So now progressive figureheads like AOC, Cori Bush, and Jamal Bowman are towing the party line. This is the thing about the funding. This is why I tell you to follow the money. Follow the money. Here's the chart. Let's go back up to the top. Middle seats, millions. Now, somebody explain to me, why is Beto O'Rourke in the same table as these Justice Democrats? Somebody explain this to me. Why are they a part of the same system? AOC, Ro Khanna, Justice Democrats PAC, Jamal Bowman, Squad Victory Fund, Ayanna Pressley and affiliated PACs, Pramila Jayapal, Alex Morse, what I am incredibly shocked by him. Middle seats total revenue. Here we go. Guys, this goes through 2021. So this includes Justice Democrats candidates who won in 2018 and the ones who won in 2020. You cannot be progressive and be connected to an organization that is moving you to the right. You cannot be progressive and be connected to an organization that is also working with Beto, Charles Booker, Katie Porter, and Joe Biden. Why is Joe Biden on here? Where is all this money go? I told you guys a while back on the show with Rob, I told you Justice Democrats had dark money too. I mentioned the money that came from George Soros, which, by the way, George Soros also gives money to the Sunrise Movement. And there are several progressive candidates that are funded by the Sunrise Movement. They have donations from them. So if you have donations from the Sunrise Movement and George Soros donates money to the Sunrise Movement, You are taking money from George Soros. This is how they do it. They try to be sneaky. They try to make it difficult to trace it back to them. That means they are connected to billionaire money, even though they say they're not. So I decided to do a little bit of digging. I was like, let me check out their website. So that's what I did. Just wanted to check this out for myself. So I ventured on over to Middle Seat. And the messaging is very clear. Now, that is an article. I can put the link to that article in the chat. But hell, you can see this on their own website. Welcome to Middle Seat, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to the messaging they have here. The digital firm for progressive causes and candidates. We support campaigns, organizations, and causes fighting for racial justice, climate action, immigrant rights, intersectional feminism. Oh, they're coming with the buzzwords. Economic justice, and more. Sounds good, right? Middle Seat is a full-service media and fundraising firm for progressive causes and candidates. Our work includes advertising, fundraising. Here we go. Fundraising. What I tell you? Development, creative, organizing, and strategy. Our work. So I scrolled down and I said, well, let me check out the work. The first person I see is Ayanna Pressley. That makes sense. They say they support progressive candidates. Ayanna Pressley is on here. She's a progressive politician. That makes sense, right? But then I scrolled down further. And I'm going to say this in my grandmother's voice, the way that my grandma would say this. How would my grandma say this? Rest in peace, Grandma. If she saw this, she would say, well, why in the hell is Joe Biden on the progressive site? Brina, why in the hell is a fund for Joe Biden on this progressive site? That's how she would say it too. She liked to say it like that. Why in the hell? Why? Why do they have a fund for Joe Biden? Let's go back up to the top. Maybe I misread something, but I don't think I did. We support campaigns, organizations, and causes fighting for racial justice, climate action, immigrant rights, intersectional feminism, economic justice, and more. Middle Seat is a full-service media, fundraising firm, and progressive causes and candidates. Joe Biden is not progressive. You're talking about climate action, climate justice. Joe Biden won't stop fracking. Joe Biden has no problem with fracking. Why are you supporting him? The same firm funding Joe Biden is funding Justice Democrats. Now do you see why the progressives say Joe Biden's doing a good job? They're all connected. Now, if this wouldn't have been sent to me, I would have probably never known about it. I had never heard of this organization until yesterday. They have a case study here. You can click on it. Biden for president, the DNC and 47 state parties entered a joint fundraising agreement as the Biden Victory Fund. They even put DNC here. So this makes no sense. This makes no sense. He is not a progressive. Are you kidding me? It's almost Kamala's birthday. Donate. Voting has started. they're behind this. So you guys see the connection here. Bernie Sanders running against Joe Biden didn't stand a chance when you have the same organization that is funding Justice Democrats funding Joe Biden. This is utterly disgusting. Utterly disgusting. This is why I tell you guys, you have to follow the money. You can't just go for their word. You can't go take their word for it. You really can't. I don't know who this gentleman is, but the Women's March, they didn't even try to hide it. I mean, I didn't have to go far. Biden was second. Long story short, if you donated money to Justice Democrats, if you donated money to those candidates, 9 times out of 10, your money went to middle seat. If your money went to middle seat, that money also went to Beto O'Rourke and Joe Biden. Now, I don't know about you, but when I donated to those progressive candidates, I did not intend for my money to end up in a middle seat, a top seat, a bottom seat, nobody's seat. I wanted my money to go to that candidate's campaign. I didn't want my money to go to Joe Biden, and I didn't want my money to go to Beto O'Rourke. But here we are. Now I see why Paula Jean Swearengin said when she was on here, if you are going to donate to a candidate, donate directly to that person. Don't do it through Act Blue. Don't do it through Justice Democrats, not our revolution, not the Sunrise Movement, the Cloudy Movement, the Dark Movement, any kind of freaking movement. Because you don't know what happens to that money once it is in that organization. I'll take that comment, Eric. Thanks so much for the comment, Judy. Thanks to Sabrina for telling all of this. It helped me understand why the squad and others I voted for are voting so horribly. Does everybody see it now? So what they probably did, now this is just a guess. What they probably did was obviously, yes, they still took grassroots donations, but they had funding from other organizations. Those organizations probably didn't have enough funding to get them elected. So those organizations took billionaire money. Now, some people don't want to hear this. If you're a fan of Justice Democrats, you may not be happy about this. You may think this isn't true. You can look this up for yourself as well. But all you have to do is follow the money. So if a candidate has a donation, you can see who their donors are. If they're grassroots and they have a donation from the Sunrise Movement, then you need to look up Sunrise Movement and you need to see who's donating to them. And then if there's an organization or a group that is donating to Sunrise Movement, you need to look up that organization to see who donated to that organization and the next organization and the next and the next and the next. And you go all the way down the line and you get to like the 5th or 6th person. And that's how you find people like George Soros. That's how you find the billionaire money. They hide it well. You really have to dig. And this is an utter disappointment. Because what this tells me is that 9 times out of 10, these progressive organizations are not 100% grassroots like they claim to be. And if that is true for every single one of them, then that means that every candidate that they run through that organization is also still taking billionaire money, not directly, but through other sources. And 9 times out of 10, some of them may not even know about it. But the ones who do know about it, shame on you. Shame on you for fooling the American people. Shame on you for taking people's last $5, $10. How dare you? I watch people give their last to get some of these people elected. And to see that you were getting money from organizations that were connected to billionaires, you didn't need my money. That just basically means you tricked us. Give us our money back. This is such an utter disappointment. Now, I told you about the George Soros connection, like I said a while back, but to see that there's even another one, who can you trust? Who can you believe? Who can you believe when they tell you they're grassroots? Are they really? I don't know. I'm going to go to some of the comments in the chat. She's Black said, I bet if Bernie ran again, some people will still give him money, smack my head or shake my head. What's the definition of insanity? Political education is a must. 100%. Jean said, Sabby, the next elections are in 287 days. Do you think the Republicans will take over the House and the Senate? Yes. No doubt. No doubt. We already saw what happened in Virginia. Dems already lost Virginia. Thanks so much for the super chat, Colin. I was wondering if Charles Booker was involved with this. This explains a lot about his messaging and probably why he decided to drop out of speaking at the Medicare for All march. Yes, yes. You guys see it now? You see it? Why do you think you don't hear them talk about Medicare for All anymore? They're in now. Got to follow the connections. Valerie said, screw Beto. We're voting for Greens and Delilah that Sabby had on a CPL time. That Sabby had on color people times. I think that's what it is. Thanks so much, Valerie. Jean said, should we abandon Democratic candidates even if they seem progressive pre-elected? So this is tough because I've had a lot of those people on this show going all the way back to over a year ago. I've had a lot of those people on this show and they all seem like great people and they have goals and they have things that they want to get accomplished. And I honestly feel that they mean well. My advice to you is to follow the money. Gamer said, yep, Princess Blanding is great. Yeah, she was awesome. She's Black said, don't donate to Democratic candidates. I know for me, I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not donating to them. That's just me. And it sucks to say that to you guys, because I know some of you still, want to try, right? I really can't tell you what to do with your money, but I can advise you to spend that money in a better place. Direct action, mutual aid. If you do want to donate to a politician, like Paula Jean said, make sure it's going directly to that person, not to an organization. And what I mean by that is when I was donating to Bernie Sanders, there was a link that would show up on the text message for me. I'd click on the link. When you submit the payment, it would say that it was donated to Act Blue or Our Revolution or whatever organization it was that popped up at that time. So that wasn't me donating directly to that person. The money was going into that organization and the organization gives the money to the candidate. So we think. But now you see, we had an organization here, middle seat, that was giving that money to other people too. So oh, CPL is couple. I'm so sorry, Valerie. I thought you were trying to make a joke. Some people in the audience are probably like, what is color people time? That's a long story. I get into that another time. It's a little inside joke there. Thanks so much for the super chat, Franny French. The money is going to a good cause. Thank you so much for that, Franny French. Hi, Sherry. Sabby, you're a breath of fresh air. Grazi, Bella. Hello. Thank you so much. Derek said, Sabby, that's not exactly how Act Blue works. It's more like Donor Box or PayPal. It just takes the payments for individuals, I think. Well, that's interesting. I don't know anymore, Derek. I don't know. It's just like, you know, one time I sat back and I thought about it and I said, no, that's just me being pessimistic. One time I thought about it and I wondered, like, was it really possible to get all that money from grassroots? They got that much money from individual donors. I thought about that one time. And then I said, no, I'm being, you know, a Debbie Downer. Let me push that out of my mind. Don't go that road. I think that was my gut trying to tell me. And so I should listen to my gut more. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. Now, I will say, what about local elections, right? Like people running for city council, mayor, that kind of jazz. That's a little bit easier to track, believe it or not. So a Democrat that's running for like city council and a Democrat running for mayor is not exactly the same thing as a Democrat running for Congress or Senate or for president. I will say I have seen that from personal experience. But you have to still look into that person and you need to check their policies. And still, I'd say the same thing. You need to follow the money. Golden Silence said, Sabby, why couldn't you see Bernie for what he was in 2016? All I know is that I did not like Hillary. I did not like Trump. And I was very upset with Obama. And so when Bernie came forward, I felt like finally someone is speaking about the way I've been feeling, that nothing is done for the people, that we don't get ahead in this country, that there's a class issue in this country, that there's too much wealth concentrated at the top. Yes, we need healthcare for everybody. So that was a big part of it. Finally, there was someone who was running for president that was saying all of those things. And he was unapologetic about it. And back then, he was more vocal about calling out the banks. So, yeah, you know, shame on me, though, man. You're right. I couldn't see through it. I couldn't see through it. Thanks so much for the super sticker, Paul Lewis. Thank you so much. Whoop, whoop. Valerie said, didn't Paula Jean talk about how the DNC took their donations and gave AOC more instead of to her when she was on there? Yes, she did talk about that. And then also another problem with AOC was that one of the clauses that AOC had on her website was that she would not take her grassroots donations and donate it to Democratic establishment candidates or Democrat establishment. And she did that last year. So again, this is what I'm saying. Like, you can't take people's money. You have a clause. People are following that clause and they believe you. You had that in writing and people believe you. You're not going to take the money that we give you and give it to the Democratic Party, the Democratic establishment, and then you go and do that anyway. You owe us a refund. That is not cool. That is not okay. How would you guys like if you were ordering an iPhone online and you received Boost mobile phone? You guys remember Boost Mobile? I don't know if everyone remembers that. How would you feel if you receive a Boost mobile phone instead of an iPhone? Well, you paid for the iPhone. You didn't pay for the Boost mobile phone. You would feel cheated. That's how I feel. I feel cheated. And it makes me not trust any of them. And then they don't understand. I was talking to Jordan Sheridan about this the other day. Does the squad even realize that people are turned off from voting now, that people don't want to come out and vote or support Democrat at all because they have been such a disappointment? I don't even think they know. I think they just pay attention to the organizations. JB says, hey, I have Boost Mobile. Oh, I'm sorry, JB, no. JB, I didn't mean it like that, but you guys know what I'm saying. Like, iPhones are expensive. I'm sorry, JB. Oh, man. JB, I had Boost a long time ago. I used to get text messages like 3 days late. I'm not kidding. People would be like, I text you yesterday, and the text message would come through like 3 days later. Funny story. That doesn't happen with JB, though, so I think Boost got better. Sorry, Jabe. I'm moving on to the third story because I actually do have to make sure I'm off before 8:30 because I do have to meet with an activist group. We need to talk about the situation that's going on in the Ukraine, what Joe Biden is trying to do. So I am going to start this off with Danny Haiphong's tweet. Now I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know I do not give myself an A+ in foreign policy. That is more of a Danny Haiphong thing and a Nick thing. I'm just keeping it real. But I'm going to do my best. We're going to get through it. So Danny Haiphong said Democrats are rushing to the floor to supply far-right and neo-Nazi forces in Ukraine with more American tax dollars to fight a potentially catastrophic war with Russia. That they never rushed to the floor to fight for Medicare for all or student loan forgiveness is revealing. Shout out to Danny Haiphong. He calls it like he sees it. I'm going to play this video for you to show you exactly what's happening in Russia. I can't believe we are about to get involved in another conflict. It really pisses me off. So here we go. Share my screen.
The move surface-to-air missiles in the country's far east due to join what Moscow says are military exercises near Ukraine, part of the growing build-up of troops and equipment revealed by images of strategic locations close to the border. What Western powers fear may be preparation for war. But for now, the diplomacy continues too. America's and Russia's top diplomats met in Geneva and at first couldn't even agree how to greet one another, with one question on everyone's lips.
Is an invasion likely, as President Biden suggested?
Mr. Lavrov seemed to suggest it was up to the United States, and later dismissed talk of invasion as hysterical rhetoric designed to provoke Ukraine.
What does Russia want most? An unstable, dependent Ukraine, or a new sphere of influence in Eastern Europe?
We are not trying to get a sphere of influence, but what NATO is doing shows it considers Ukraine to be a part of its sphere of influence.
To the West, Ukraine is an independent, sovereign nation. That means it has a right to self-determination, free from Russian control. And if it wants to join NATO or any other international alliance, well, that's for it to decide. Russia's view is different. It sees the former Soviet country as historically within its sphere of influence, and also strategically important. Crimea was annexed in part to protect Russia's access to the Black Sea. And as for NATO membership, that would be seen as a threat to Russia's core security. That's why President Putin wants NATO to rule out Ukraine ever becoming a member and withdraw its forces from Eastern Europe. America's Secretary of State rejected these as non-starters and once again sought to deter any military action.
We've been clear. If any Russian military forces move across Ukraine's border, that's a renewed invasion. It will be met with swift, severe, and a united response from the United States and our partners and allies.
There was no breakthrough at the talks here today.
All right, I have something to say, and then I'm going to show you something else in reference to this as well. The United States government does not need to get involved. I've said this before multiple times. I do not agree with the United States government interfering in other countries' conflicts. Every time we do this, it goes tremendously bad. Every time. Now, it was just a couple months ago that some people were applauding Joe Biden for withdrawing troops from Afghanistan. Now, we can argue and have a little debate over that because I would still say there's still contractors in Afghanistan. But some people, nevertheless, were applauding Joe Biden for doing that. Here we are, just a couple of months later, and now he is threatening to send troops to the Ukraine. The warmongering doesn't end, ladies and gentlemen. It just continues. It gets worse. This is what he does. This is what he wants. To interrupt, to interfere, to challenge any country that he feels or that they feel the United States government could be a potential threat. Any country they feel may have a leg up on us. Now, some people are going to tell you they are not trying to invade the Ukraine. In fact, one of those people is Caleb Maupin. He had something to say about this. And I want you to hear what Caleb had to say. Now, Caleb's really good on this. Might have to bring Caleb back on.
And just a few...
Give me just a second. I have to mute myself.
Folks, the U.S. Secretary of State and the Russian Foreign Minister just had a meeting trying to resolve some of this tension. And just a few hours later, we hear that the USA is sending military helicopters to Ukraine. You got Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, they're sending anti-tank missiles. Everyone is pouring all kinds of weapons into Ukraine. This is insanity. This is just complete and utter insanity. Russia is not going to invade Ukraine. Russia is not going to invade Ukraine. Russia is not going to invade Ukraine. You know how many times they have to say this? They don't want a war. They don't want to invade Ukraine. This is insane. This is nuts. I've never seen anything like this. This government in Ukraine that they're giving lethal weapons to is full of neo-Nazis. They tear down World War II memorials. Okay, they've got an actual Nazi battalion. The Azov battalion, it's a section of the army that's like Nazi. They just had a parade for Stepan Bandera, who is a Nazi collaborator. This is insanity. You don't stop war. You don't bring peace by pouring weapons into countries. This insane rhetoric has got to stop. This is going to lead to a disaster. Nobody is benefiting from this. We are edging closer and closer and closer to World War III. This is a complete and utter nightmare. It's got to stop. I mean, no one has any idea how dangerous this is. This is not a joke. This is really extreme. A lot of people are going to get hurt and a lot of people are going to die if this doesn't stop. Okay? This has got to stop. This has to stop. It must stop. You have no idea how dangerous this is. This is a nightmare unfolding. This is really a nightmare.
What can I say? Well said. Well said. This is extremely dangerous, you guys. Extremely dangerous. And he has a point. The United States government is giving weapons to neo-Nazis in Ukraine. They better not come to us and have any type of talk again about any type of racial equality in this country. Come Juneteenth, I don't want to see them say a damn thing. I don't want to see Joe Biden say anything, Pelosi, all of them in DC. I don't want to hear them utter one damn thing about equality and unity in this country when you can sit up there and you can give weapons to neo-Nazis abroad. Don't come for it. It's not the day. Now, I want to show you this article to show you exactly what is going on. Let me share my screen here. Trying to be mindful of the time. Make this a little bit bigger for you. Boopity boop. President Joe Biden spoke with European leaders Monday afternoon as he mulls the option of deploying military personnel and equipment to the region amid the rapidly deteriorating security station at Ukraine's border with Russia. Biden spoke via secure video for nearly 90 minutes with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, European Council President Charles Michel, President Emmanuel Macron of France, and Chancellor Olaf Scholz of Germany. Prime Minister Mario Draghi of Italy, President, look, I ain't pronouncing all these names. Here we go. He spoke with the prime ministers. Okay. The leaders discussed their concern about Russia's military buildup on Ukraine's borders and expressed their support for Ukraine's sovereignty, the White House said in a readout of the call. The leaders also discussed their joint efforts to deter further Russian aggression against Ukraine, including preparations to impose massive consequences and severe economic costs on Russia for such actions, as well as to reinforce security on NATO's eastern flank. A senior administrative official who declined to be identified. Why you declined to be identified? You were part of this too. Declined to be identified in order to share unannounced details, told NBC News that while conversations are underway with NATO countries about sending troops to Eastern Europe, Biden has not yet ordered a deployment. It's coming. Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby said Tuesday that the Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin placed approximately 8,500 U.S. personnel on heightened alert should NATO activate a response force known as NRF. The NRF is a multinational force made up of land, air, maritime, special operation forces, all components that the alliance can deploy on short notice whenever needed. Kirby said that NATO alliance would need to activate the NRF in order for the majority of the 8,500 U.S. troops to deploy to Europe. The Russians have amassed more than 100,000 troops and equipment on its borders with Ukraine, and in recent days deployed additional troops to Belarus. The latest revelations come as the State Department issued an order Sunday evening for eligible family members of personnel at its embassy in Kyiv to leave the country due to the deteriorating security conditions. I'm going to put this article in the chat because I actually don't have time. Apologies. To go through the whole article, but there's something else that I wanted to show you. Some of you may be wondering, what does NATO have to do with all of this? So I'm going to show you. Now, NATO has become a flashpoint with Russia and Ukraine. And what I want to mention, if I remember correctly, I seriously thought, and if I'm wrong, I apologize for this, but if my memory serves me correctly, I thought after the Berlin Wall fell that we agreed that we would not expand NATO. I thought it was after the Berlin Wall fell. I could be wrong, but I think I'm right on that. But I want to scroll down here and show you. So here is NATO's expanding membership. So again, NATO has expanded, and I thought that was not supposed to happen. I thought there was an agreement that this would not occur. I don't know, but that's what I thought. But as you can notice here from the map, NATO has indeed expanded. And here is Russia over here, and you see the Ukraine is right there at Russia's border. Now, the dark green countries, those are the founding members. The medium colored green, that is Cold War expansion. And post-Cold War expansion is the light colored green that you see here next to Ukraine. So NATO has expanded pretty far. Now, there was something I wanted to show you here. Oh, yep, that's it. Did the United States promise the Soviet Union that it would freeze NATO expansion? Russian officials say that the U.S. government, this larger, made a pledge to Soviet leaders not to expand the alliance's eastern borders, a commitment they say came during the flurry of democracy. Following the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. And surrounding the reunification of Germany in 1990. So I'm correct. So what the hell happened? And so if you go down here, it says they say the United States and NATO have repeatedly betrayed this verbal commitment in the decades since, taking advantage of Russia's tumultuous post-Soviet period and expanding the Western alliance several times, not once, but several times, all the way to Russia's doorstep in the case of the Baltic states. Sorry, you guys, I'm still dealing with this cold. So the United States government is guilty here, as usual. In that video that I played for you, the gentleman said that their actions would depend on what the United States government did. And the United States government is already mulling over. Let me go ahead and send troops on alert so when the call comes, they can go over there. Here we go again. How many times do we have to go through this? Another country, another population that the United States government is going to interfere with. They are trying to intervene once again. And I've told you guys before what happens when they do this. Every time every time the United States government intervenes in another country's conflict, the people who are in that country are worse off than they were before the United States government intervened. Every damn time. There are several examples that you can point to. When the United States government took out Saddam Hussein, that gave way for ISIS. Now, I'm no fan of Saddam Hussein. Was he a tyrant? Absolutely. But once they got rid of him, ISIS was able to come about. He was able to keep those groups in check. They took him out, thinking that you're helping the people. ISIS came to power, and the people in the country were worse off than they were before the U.S. intervened. This is why I do not agree with war. I do not agree with imperialism. I think the United States government has constantly tried to police the world. And I challenge anyone on that. If you're a leftist and you support this, you support war, and you support imperialism, are you really a leftist? You know what's going to happen? I want you to think about all the innocent civilians that have absolutely nothing to do with this, that will lose their lives because of war. It happens every time. JB said poor people are going to die as cannon fodder in this country. Agreed. They are really setting us up for an epic disaster here. Do you know what this could mean? Caleb is right. I don't want you to see that video and think, oh, he's just exaggerating. No, he's not. This is serious trouble. And it could be trouble for all of us. Because we have this clown in the White House who has no idea what he is doing. I swear to God, I feel like we've had a substitute president for a whole year. Just like you have a substitute teacher, we have a substitute president. What in the hell is he doing? I'm going to go to these comments and then I have to head out because I'm looking at the clock. Thank you so much for the super sticker, Jason Spitzer. Thank you so much for that. Blue Moon Red Wine said, yeah, they owe everyone a refund, but they dug their own hole now. They're getting no donations. I hear you, Blue Moon. Thanks so much for the super chat, The Traveler. During 2018 and 2020, there was a UN resolution to condemn Nazism and ban it, but the US and the Ukraine voted against it twice. You guys hear this? You guys hear this? But they want to wear a kente cloth. Oh. Shout out for the super chat, Harry. I think U.S. federal law prohibits individuals accepting donations for political office. You must register as an org. Prevents con artists scamming you. But they scammed us anyway, Harry. We got scammed anyway. Thanks for the super chat. They've been scamming us all this time. Thanks for the super chat, Mo. Hey, Sabby, been watching your show for a few months now. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Mo. Wherever you are, it must be really cold. Or you were skiing. Maybe you were skiing. Thanks for the super chat. JB said this will be a political tool for the election. Oh, I can see him doing it. I can see him doing it. Because you guys remember when W ran for his second term? Remember what people were saying? Well, we can't vote him out because we're in the middle of conflict. It wouldn't be good to get rid of a sitting president in the middle of a foreign conflict. Thanks so much for the super chat, Steve. No war with Russia, no war with China. This is very dangerous. I'm telling you, they're trying to get us all killed. What are they doing? And thank you so much for the super sticker, JM. I may have said that before, but I'm not quite. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I did. I forget. Just making sure I got everybody over here. I did. Okay. So this is where we're at right now, ladies and gentlemen. This is what is happening. In 1 year, Joe Biden has managed to fulfill none of his campaign promises and is now potentially trying to start another war. I told my mom the other day on a phone call after watching Biden's press conference, I told my mom that sometimes I just want to punch him in the face. I'm not a violent person. I don't go around punching people. But that's how he makes me feel. My mom told me to calm down, take a deep breath. She's always the voice of reason for me. Yeah, go ahead, Eric. I'm ready. Not that I would actually do that, but that's how he makes me feel. Like, really, like, thank you so much for the super chat. The tip on Rockfin, Crone of Anarchy. It's mighty task, but we need a movement to nationalize all military contracting. No more private, or we always have forever war. There isn't too much more morally repugnant than killing people or threat of killing people for profit. Thank you so much for that, Crone of Anarchy. I really appreciate that. Like, I feel like any minute here, we are going to participate in our own version of Hunger Games. I feel like more and more we are getting closer to living in a Black Mirror episode. If you have not seen Black Mirror on Netflix, you should check it out. It's kind of scary how close it is to what we're going through today. And every now and then, I feel like I'm in an episode of The Twilight Zone. Although it's not a 30-minute episode. It's not an hour episode like season 4. By the way, season 4 of Twilight Zone, for whatever reason, they tried to do hour episodes, didn't work out too well. That's why that season was not on Netflix. That's another story. But I feel like I am in a year-long Twilight Zone episode. And I just keep waiting for Rod Sterling to pop up any minute. Just to say to everybody on television, you are entering the 5th dimension. I'm still waiting for that. Just someone to pop up and let me know that this is all a dream. And we're going to wake up any second. Sometimes I feel like I'm living in the Matrix. Maybe this is all just a simulation. But I know it's not. And that's the scary part. This is the reality that we live in right now. What are we going to do? What are we going to do about it? Are we going to continue to sip lattes and go to brunch, have that mimosa? Or like Jin Saki said, go to kickboxing class and have a margarita? What are we going to do? I have a homework assignment for everyone. Over the weekend, I want you to reach out to someone that may not really agree with you politically. And I want you to educate them about what is currently going on in this country. I don't care if they're a Biden stan. I don't care if they're not into politics at all, which a lot of people, like most people, are non-voters, right? But reach out to someone that may not agree with you politically. And for the love of God, please tell them about what is going on. Because if it's not for independent media, right now, they're getting the mainstream media narrative of what's going on in the Ukraine and Russia. And that's so dangerous. I had to search through several video clips just to find the one to show you that I showed you tonight, because all the ones I found were basically pro-war. So I ended up with the clip from the BBC. We got to educate people, man. We got to keep preaching to the masses. But in order for the message to spread, we got to talk to people that we may not necessarily want to talk to. And I think that is something that scares the elites the most. Guys, that's my time. Go check out Nick over on RBN at 8:30. He's got some things to say about Joe Biden tonight, too. Almost said Jayapal. Let's go hand in hand. But he has some things to say about Joe Biden tonight, too. So definitely go check him out at 8:30. I got to get going, guys. Thank you so much for hanging with me tonight. You know how we do this. Have a good night. Keep up the fight.